Okay guys, welcome back to the Saturday Maintenance. Get my tail up on the chair here. I had a few questions on air compressors by some of the people that watch this channel. They're really curious about how they can tell a single stage from a dual stage, and some do buy things and don't know exactly what they are, so that'd be kind of nice to know, I guess. Just remember, when you are buying an air compressor today, most of the stuff that you buy as far as the actual compressor itself that produces the air, it makes the air, they have an hour rating on them. Let's cover this right now from the get-go. The majority of your very expensive air compressors that you can go and look at to a Home Depot or a Lowe's or something like that, you're expecting this really nice DeWalt or whatever it is that you're looking at to be this really excellent air compressor, because you're paying top dollar for it. And you're damn right you're paying top dollar for it. But on top of that, a lot of them don't have very good hours on the pump. The pumps themselves generally run between 250 hours and 500 hours, and that's it. Okay, I've covered this before in a previous video that I have on this channel somewhere along the line a couple years ago. But if you really want to get into a good air compressor, something that's going to last you for the same amount of money, start looking around and check them out. Like the air compressor I bought, I think it's like 10 or 15,000 hours on it versus the 500 that you can pick up. The hourly rating, they do have it. If you cannot find it, ask somebody about it. Ask somebody at the factory about it. Ask somebody about Lowe's about it. If they don't know what they're talking about, then you don't need to be buying shit from them. Period. Okay? You need to know the basics of what you're getting, okay? That pump is one of the most important things. Now we're going to get into a couple different air compressors, some of which you probably never heard of before, but we'll cover them anyway because somebody wants to know. So let's do it. Alright, now here's my crappy little drawing here that I downloaded and printed out. So hopefully you kind of understand. This is going to be a single stage, alright? Meaning that when the air comes in here, it's drawn in by the piston down, and once that valve is shut off, it's compressed into here. The valve opens, it comes out and goes into this cooling fins here, which it goes right directly into the tank. So that's one stage. This is a single stage. Most single stages generally run between 90 psi around that area up to about 150, depending on what you're getting, how the setup is on it. Single stage air compressors are good. They hardly ever, a very good one that you would normally purchase would normally run around 125 psi, and they work very well, and they can produce more air than an actual two-stage can at 125 psi to 90 psi. Although a two-stage can go up to say 175 psi. Now I say a single stage can outperform it because you can add multiple pistons to a single stage. Now just a single one like this is not going to produce more air than a two-stage, but if you add multiple pistons to it, it will produce more than a two-stage. I'll show you how. Okay, getting into your single stage here. I have another nice little photo here. I can get it down here. This is another single stage here. You can tell that it's still a single stage. It's not a multiple stage because it has the air here, here, and here, the intakes on it. And what happens is, as the crank is turning on the inside of here, it is actually producing air through each one of these cylinders on one complete stroke. So they're getting 3 on here compared to the 1 that would be there. This is why they can produce more air, a single stage, at the certain PSI, not 175, but around 125 PSI to 90 PSI. They can produce more air. If you have tools that prefer that or run that, they can make more air. Getting into your two-stage air compressor, the difference in it is basically here. You have a larger cylinder most of the time here, and it's going to be sucking the air in. Once it sucks the air in here, it's going to compress this over to the other side here. What it's doing is sending it into a smaller hole over here on this side here. As it goes into the smaller hole, it's going to be recompressed and sent back out. So say this might be like 90 to 125 coming over. Once it gets here, it takes and produces it over to 175 when it compresses it again. So it's actually compressing air once and twice. That's why it's called a two-stage. Okay? That makes a huge difference. But this is why I say that a single stage can produce more air than a two-stage at 90 to 125 psi, because even though this makes 175 psi, it can't keep up with this one here with being multiple pistons. Even two pistons, like I have, is really good compared to this here. I don't require needing 175 psi. Most all the tools that I have run on 90 psi or better, so I don't have any issues with it. Most of your impacts today run off of 90 psi with no problem at all. Alright, next one up is going to be a screw compressor. And it is literally what it is. A lot of people like to call these rotary screw compressors. I'm not really sure why they call them rotary. Maybe because they turn like a rotor compressor, but they're not really a rotary compressor. This is just a basic screw. The screws work very well. They're very quiet compared to most other compressors, and they last a little bit longer because they're generally built a little bit better. But they're basically compressing air with the screws going through and putting it into a different chamber. But that's a really good compressor. They're very expensive, and a lot of people are going to these today. You see these in a lot of your industrial areas, like sandpaper mills, things like that, wood mills, things of that nature. You know, anything that can need large amounts of air and run for really, really long periods of time. All right. Next is going to be your rotary vane compressor. It basically, what it does is it pulls the air in, and it comes in through larger areas here. As it's swinging around, it gets smaller, and once it gets smaller, it sends the air back out. So that's how it compresses the air. But it's a rotary vane, and it's generally offset. These are pretty decent little air compressors, pretty nice. Get into a diaphragm compressor. This is something that most people don't normally see, and it literally works like a plunger, I guess you would say. It generally pulls the air in. It's like sucking a plunger down, and you generally have two valves that open. This is just showing one, but on a normal diaphragm compressor, it has two inlets and one outlet, and when the air that comes in is sucked in and then it's shoved through out in the one segal. These are real common in the food industry. People make like Crazy Jane salt, stuff like that, where they can't have, getting oil being mixed into the air or moisture being sucked into the air, because the air that's there is what's being used because it's sealed here. Whatever comes in here goes there. Okay. See, one other one that I don't have anything on would be your normal, I guess you would call it like an oilless air compressor. And they're really common, and basically they're oilless because they don't have a sump for the oil for it or anything, any kind of way. And they don't really last a long time. They're really common. They're really, really noisy, and you may even own one. I've owned several over the years, but I basically don't have an oilless air compressor here anymore. I got rid of the one I did have, and I don't have any diagrams on one, but they're pretty easy to find and look at. But normally just have like a thing covering the actual, where it spans on the crankshaft, where the rod goes up and down through it to pull the air in. It's just wide open. It's run off of a sealed bearing instead of having an old sump. That's the only difference. But they're very loud and very undependable. Most of the time, if they start slowing down or tripping breakers, it generally means that the bearings are locking up in them, because they're on the crankshaft. It's just a sealed bearing, and that's it. But I hope the video was helpful. If it was, hey, give it a thumbs up. If not, hey, it's cool too. And y'all have a good day.